Let's talk a little bit about what we don't do. We do not guarantee you a job, nor does anyone else here in the room guarantee you a job. It is up to you. I don't want to sugarcoat this. It is a bloody hard industry. As I've just said, I think there's 1,100 people who say they've got production businesses in Australia, something I've been told. There's 600 in the UK. So do that. The UK's industry is 3 or 4 times bigger than ours, and we've got double the number of people saying they're in production business. That's unsustainable. Now again, what I don't want to do is depress you, because the trick is, it is amazing. There are incredible opportunities. You've got to run with them. Again, and I'm sorry I keep picking on them, but I'm looking at Veronica and Imogen. They're examples of that. When they do their talks, I'm sure they'll tell you how tough it can be and is. But there are amazing opportunities, and you are doing great work, as we saw before. We don't take unsolicited pitches. We obviously, we have to look at things through a prism, through filters. You know, in some ways, an example Fiona, my COO, says is often we're sort of playing in the elite field, we're playing in the A grade, and so we will take people suddenly who've come straight from the high school team to get on to the big team, but that's more because they're going to stand out. The volume of stuff we're getting, we can't come through everything and give you back ideas and feedback on everything. And again, I'm probably not going to steal her thunder, but you know, some of the things that Imogen just did a call out recently and had 900 and something applications. If she had had to give feedback on all of them, she wouldn't get anything else done for the next 2 years. I understand how tough that is for all of you, because you've put it in and you get a form response. I really get it, but we just can't. We're not set up to give that kind of level of feedback. We also, of course, we don't produce things. So we're not producers. We don't create content. Producers do that. You know, so we're here to assist you to get stuff done. I think, as I've mentioned, there's huge challenges or things for you to sort of kind of be aware of and be playing with. The revenue models haven't kind of really settled down yet. People aren't clear exactly how this is going to run. Things we don't mind, though, by the way, is we don't dislike questions. I know this sounds like a double negative, it gets very confusing. But we like it when you do come to Ken, to Screen New South Wales, to your industry body if you're a producer. Join up, by the way, because the community of that influence you can get is extraordinary. Come to us early with questions. Do look at all the material which is out there. You've got to think, what are the ways that we can help you? You have to do your homework first, as it says on there. If you are not keeping track of what is happening in the sector, shame on you. You have to stay up to date. Read the trades, read the newsletters we're putting out, talk to each other, keep an eye on what is rating or what is working. Have a look at what's going on in the box office. What are channels commissioning? What are they interested in? What's happening in the US or the UK? Other markets that maybe you can see ways to go. So, rolling along here. Challenges. Now, one of the key things, again, when we were talking to Ken or when we look around the country, people think that, because we're in Sydney, and it is very true, the ABC is 900 metres away from me, Channel 7's down the road, 10's down the road, that we all hang out all the time in the coffee shops in Sydney just waiting for Sydney producers to come past and we give them the money. Now, it doesn't work like that. I do think probably in the 90s, you know, there was a lot more of that kind of stuff going on, or industry functions where people would run into each other at long lunches getting drunk. It just isn't the case at the moment. So we do recognise there are challenges for not being right there, where you can't suddenly turn up in David Anderson, the new head of television at the ABC's office, if he says, come and see me now. I get it. But really, that operates to most people. You know, so it isn't the barrier that it used to be. Technology has made it totally different. Big challenges, though, for everybody. Honestly, I think there are way too many, as I said, people operating on their own. kitchen table, no matter whether you're a writer, a director, or certainly if you're a producer, operating on your own is almost certainly going to be a recipe for disaster. It's too hard. It means every time you go into production, everything else you're doing stops. So then when you finish production, you're madly in post and you're starting to think, shoot, what am I going to do next? And you start the whole process again. It's just insanity. It'll do your health in and you will not make money. You won't. So what's a way around that? You need a slate of things. You need a different range of ideas. Now, the best way to do that is collaborate, formally or informally. It's number one tip. Now, that does create a challenge if you are regional, because it might be up here, you can't find the person that you want to work with. They may be in Melbourne. They may be in Broome. The best fit. Work around it. Another example I would give at that point is, I don't want to choose any favourites, but an incredibly successful production company we do a lot of things with, Seesaw. They've kind of got Lion, now the 5th biggest film of all time. Top of the Lake, 1 and 2, television. They've got a TV series about to film in New Zealand just started, called Monkey. Now, Emil is based in Sydney. His partner, Ian, is based in London. Now, if they can make that work, Byron Bay, Sydney is a doddle. It is doable. Find the person who fits and complements you the best. Please do collaborate with someone who you can get on well with, because divorces in business are worse than divorces in life, I hate to tell you. I think you also need to think about, some of the things that are challenges, I think, for you guys, sometimes can be access, maybe, to it's not access to us, because, again, it's very rare for my guys to take those face-to-face meetings the way you would have 10 years ago. Now most things are done by email, by the phone, by Skype. We're trying to do a lot more of that as if NBN, and I have to be careful because that sits in my same ministry. When NBN is a huge success and rolls out brilliantly, speeds are up. We are going to do a lot more of our classes and linkages online. So you'll be able to book meetings with our development staff or production investment staff. Obviously, again, leveraging up the more work you can be doing up here, the more facilities we can get up here. But again, I look at some of the stuff that we've been doing. Holy Grail, obviously, would be to get a television recurring series here. No pressure, Imogen. I'm sure they're going to hold you down till you do one. But I look at some of the stuff that we've been making, particularly our digital content, which, again, I apologise to people in the room who have trawled through some of my speeches. I talk about it all the time. The most successful thing we do in terms of eyeballs and connecting with audiences is not Lion, it is not Mad Max, it is not it's not Molly, which got 3 million viewers on Channel 7, it's our digital content. The most successful content creators in the country were in that clip. They're 23-year-old identical twins from Adelaide, not Sydney, Adelaide, the Raka Raka Boys. Their content has been seen by 250 million people. If you're not tracking the stuff we're doing digitally and you're going to be a producer or a director, you're not in the game. You are simply not in the game. The most successful factual things, no offence Veronica, because you're very successful, but again, is things like the Mighty Car Mods. Derek Muller, Veritasium. Both of them have 3 million subscribers. Not viewers, subscribers. Now, Sonia Pemberton did work with Veritasium on a great show which is Emmy nominated. But we are funding these people coming through all the time who have an enormous fan base here and internationally. They are telling stories in a way and shape that an audience under 30 wants. More and more, that is where our funding is going to go. Because again, jokes aside, we are getting older. We do brilliant stuff on television and film, which is playing incredibly well to 35 pluses, and we do really great for kids. That audience in the middle is getting more and more and more important. So as my job is to tell Australian stories for Australians, as that size of the population becomes more than 50%, which it will, most of our funding will go to, not doesn't mean it'll go to digital, but it will go to the stories and the form that they are telling for that audience. It's really key. So I'm not saying I won't do things with old people. We love old people. George Miller is 72 and he made one of the most kick-ass films I've ever seen. So this is not about age, this is just about thinking how you're going to tell it. Again, big challenge and opportunity for you is obviously, I'm assuming you guys are all over Michelle Guthrie's new announcement about regional for the ABC. Now I think that is just a beginning for her. She's talked obviously about news and current affairs to begin with. I think that you would see a big push and opportunity in factual in particular. I think, things like Catalyst, the changes there have been controversial. That is a big opportunity. Ms. Guthrie is very, very keen on being an Australian broadcaster for all Australians. That's a big shift, so I think that's a great thing. So, as we see there, again, broadcasters need regional more than ever. A few years ago, the reason why we did the diversity project, and I don't include gender in that because last time I checked, women are not a minority, they're 51% of the population. But one of the reasons we were looking at gender and diversity is, again, I think there's a moral reason. We do market intervene. Don't tell me I have to leave it to the market because the market doesn't look after any of that stuff here. It makes sense, again, everything that you're doing, you're telling a regional point of view. It's becoming more and more and more important because if you don't see yourself on screen, if you don't feel that it's relevant to you, unlike when I was growing up, there were 3 or 4 channels, you didn't like it, tough. Now you go elsewhere. So the cinemas and the networks know that. So they are actually actively looking at the moment for a variety of voices and tastes. So, another thing, it's really worth saying, and Matt and I can have friendly disagreements about this quite often because it is quite true that for most people in the sector, it's a struggle, day in, day out. There's no question. But that's because we get so many applications, we turn down 95% of what comes into us. Now, so that means there's 95 people in 100 going, oh God, the world's terrible, the sky's falling, I hate my life, I hate Screen Australia, and I get it. But what they don't get is the fact that 5% is kick-ass. We had our biggest year ever for film in 2015, ever in history. We had 13 Oscar nominations this year. We've got multiple dramas on every single network at the moment. That's unheard of. I seriously don't remember that. The digital content I was just talking about, the guys that we've funded, not necessarily content we have funded, but content they have made, in 4 years has had 2.5 billion views. The number one thing which DFAT, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, say is most useful to them and their missions is the screen content. So the success of what is getting made and the opportunity is vast. The challenges are equally vast. But I want you to remember to be positive. Keep an eye on the prize. It is possible. Most of it does not go to big foreign Hollywood stuff. And even when it does go to big Hollywood stuff, it employs thousands of people. The industry is not just producers, writers and directors. The biggest part of our industry is crew. It is facilities. These people pay mortgages, have their kids at school. Now, I know we all hope for that too, but you have to remember that's the industry. We all need it too, because when you then go to make something, you need them. So please also, God, don't whinge about foreign stuff coming in. It is really important part of the ecosystem. Big things to look at. Audience, as I said, viewing patterns are changing rapidly. Dramas on air that you would have thought before would have got 1.5, 1.6 million overnights. Doesn't happen now. You're thrilled if you get 800. That's the state of reality. Now, what that does mean, though, is the eyeballs are the same, probably, by the time you get consolidated numbers and you pick it all up, but it means advertisers only look at the overnights. So it's rare for people to be feeling sorry for networks, but I do. The pressure on them is getting intense. How do they pay for all the shows? You know, how do you pay for stuff when it is becoming the norm, again, for this, the negative about the generation under 30, to pirate? It's normal. They don't think anything of it. They think the internet should be free. How do we fund stuff? And so even if we're still going to fund it, how do the producers make any money for their work and then share it with all the points participants, the writers, directors, cast? It's a huge challenge. I do think also now people are thinking really globally. That's the way it is. You know, because something goes out and it's out immediately. We all want Game of Thrones the day it goes out. You know, people don't necessarily think about local the same way. Now again, being key on this, because television, free-to-air television is what underpins our sector. Now again, I don't want to frighten them, but big conversations Matt and I had during the week, we have quotas in this country. If we don't have quotas, and eventually they will go, because you've got Amazons, YouTubes, Netflixes who don't have quotas. So why does 7, 9 and 10 have to actually have a certain number of hours on air? Why does Foxtel have to spend a certain amount of money? Eventually that argument will come true. If we don't replace it with something else, or give us $1 billion a year to spend on you, we're in deep trouble. These are the kind of things, the big picture stuff, which isn't just the key producers and SPA and us are worrying about, the Directors Guild. We need you to be thinking about it too, because it's your career, it's your businesses. So again, I really can't stress enough to be thinking about thinking local, act global. The opportunities are vast. Again, staying with something like Seesaw, Top of the Lake is fully recouped. The Jane Campion series they did, fully recouped. Now here, it had a specialised audience. I'm not quite sure why, and I'm interested to see Series 2 does better because it's set in Sydney. Internationally, it was massive. So they made a quality show, worked here, but massive internationally. Now, where we struggle as Screen Australia is if it's all offshore focused. Now, we can give advice and assistance and you might get the offset. You're unlikely to get direct equity from us because our primary thing is to make stuff for an Australian audience. We haven't gone as far as some people like the Canadians or the New Zealanders who now give grants in relationship or in ratio to the audience that it's going to get locally. But you could see that on the horizon. It's quite possible. I think, looking forward, just running quickly through this because I'm not even sure how much time we've gone. Great, perfect. Lots of opportunities for us. I'm happy with that. Again, hopefully you've all prepped and read all of this stuff on our screen, on our website already. You track every single thing we're doing. You know, you've got us on Google search permanently. We announce new programs and things all the time. Some great ones there we announced recently, like we're doing Doco 180, which is a great thing with News Limited. So we're constantly looking for new partners too. We did amazing things with Google. Art Bites, we're doing it again with the ABC. Hot Shots, Girls. We do wildcard funding. So even if you don't hit our normal eligibility, there's ways that you can, odd rounds where you can get to come in to see us. Look on our website, really stay up to date. Going forward, what I want you to do, I want you to be thinking proactively about your career, what you're doing. Own it. Do your research. Please, please, please be thinking about the audience you're making it for. Again, it's a knife edge. You can't make something that's just worked really well now because often that means they've done it. But you have to be aware of the zeitgeist. And what I really mean is, you know, if you want to make a horror film, for example, and that's totally fine, are you aware that horror films do not work in cinemas in Australia and New Zealand? Never have, never will. So if you're going to make it, and I'm not saying you shouldn't because it's often a great talent board and they work incredibly well in Germany and Scandinavia and places, have done your research. Do not come to us asking for millions of dollars to do a horror film when you say it's going to play in Hoyts and Event cinemas and it won't. Now, I mean, I'm just using that as an example. Now, we did do an incredible horror film called The Babadook with Jennifer Kent. She's a genius. Now, we didn't give it very much money, but we gave her an enormous amount of support and her producers, and we're just about to start her new film shooting in Tasmania next week. Now, I'm thrilled, and we knew why we were doing that. So we will do them, but I'd almost do it if you said I'm making it deliberately for home ent and VOD. I'm going to get the 20% offset. Can I just get this much money? Maybe I've got a region on board. This is how I'm going to do it. It's sexy or it's new. We'd do it, but you have to know that fact. Because if you come into me and say it's a 4-quadrant movie or TV show and everyone's going to go, I'll dismiss you. Because if you haven't worked that out in advance, you're way behind the 8 ball the second you come in the door. Be aware of where budgets are going. Think about where funding's going. Think about what the opportunities are. There is an incredible opportunity in this country. The talent is phenomenal. There are brilliant business people. There are still huge networks. There is us, there are state agencies, there's regional bodies. We want to help you continue to make the next reel of that Screen Currency Report. Okay, that's it. Phew.